comments by county board members. Mr. Markham.
I just wanted to take a quick second and congratulate the Joliet West softball team on their third place finish at the IHSA state tournament. They came back and finished.
Gretchen. Fritz, Ms. Fritz.
Mr. Executive, I just wanted to recognize, along with Meta Mueller, the American Legion in Plainfield, American Legion Martin Post number 13.
Yeah, I like to just make a couple comments. I'd like to thank Mr. Markham for mentioning the passing of Steve Lazara. I realize that many of you may not have known Steve.
Yes, I do a lot of volunteer work all over the state of Illinois, basically. But I met a real interesting person that has a lot of wisdom named Pastor Posey. He's a pastor here in Joliet. And I had a philosophical conversation with him. It might sound like Pastor Brooks or Elder Colitis or Deacon Fritz, but he said, you know, when we're all going to eventually die. So he says, what you need to do is look in a mirror at yourself and look at your image and tell your image what you stand for and what you want out of life and what you want to happen in this world. Good and bad and indifferent. Then ask yourself the question, looking at the mirror, saying, do I have the courage and conviction to stand up for what I actually believe is right or wrong? And when you get that answer yourself, you have to say then, well, I do have that courage and conviction, but maybe I don't have the guts to stand up because I'll look like a fool. Or maybe I just don't care enough. I feel this way, but I don't care enough to get out of the security box. So everybody needs to examine what they really want and what they actually think. And I'm not trying to talk as a pastor, but when we look at the issue of after-birth abortion, which is a big topic now because the state just signed that bill, and then we asked to have that read as a proclamation, and it was denied. And to me, it's like the first time I ever heard of a proclamation being denied because it affects all the people in Will County. It's a very sad day to me when we're not allowed to actually speak our conviction. And I've been speaking out against afterbirth abortion since the early 2000s. And it was going on in Christ Hospital, the name Christ, it was going on there. So, you know, we have to, at one point or another, we have to stand up and say we are going to be standing for these principles or not. And it's not about a political issue. It's not about whether you're a Democrat or Republican or a Libertarian. It's about you yourself have to look in the mirror and say, do I believe that what's going on is right or wrong? And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Next up, Ms. Darlington.
Well, I don't have such a serious comment, but thank you, Steve. I want to, first of all, a couple of things. I want to thank you guys today for your vote for all the Workforce Investment Board initiatives that we have in our agenda today. Those are programs that go out throughout the whole county and help our labor force improve their status.
Such as abortion. It seems that lately we are doing many things that are social issues and not typically county issues. But those of us sitting on a certain side of this office, of this building here, and the right side, we've been contacted by many of our residents on the recent law that was the recent legislation that was passed just this past week by J.B. Pritzker, our new governor, J.B. Pritzker. So we did put forth a proclamation to read, and it was felt that it wasn't county business. I think it is county business because it impacts so many of our residents. I'm going to read a couple things, and one thing I want to say before I even begin reading anything is something that happened in my life and Rachel Ventura's life recently. Recently, my son found a baby raccoon, and he thought, wow, there's this little baby raccoon, I'm going to do what I can to keep it alive. And Rachel's little girls, who are cute and adorable little things, they found a little baby bunny. And so they too sought to do the same thing. And so she had brought her girls up to me in one of the meetings, and we talked, and I said, well, to them, don't think that you can do it. You're not a mama bunny, and my son's not a mama raccoon, obviously, you're not a mama. And it's really hard to keep wild animals alive. So these young children, my son's not as young as her girls, but he has always been compassionate with animals. And they both did all three of them did what they could to keep these little babies alive. And unfortunately, they died. And that happens often because you don't know when the little creature lost their mother. So I'm going to read what we hope to have as a proclamation. I will read it without being a proclamation. In support of protecting the lives of all newborn babies. Roe versus Wade is the legal case in the United States Supreme Court, and on January 22nd, 1973, it was ruled 7-2 that unduly restricted state regulation of abortion is unconstitutional. The Supreme Court also at that time placed the point after which the state's compelling interest in a pregnant woman's health would allow it to regulate abortion at approximately the end of the first trimester. The Supreme Court also recognized the point of viability of the unborn baby and that the state could protect its interest in potential life and regulate abortion at that time. While many on this board recognize the fact that it is a felony in the state of Illinois to abuse animals, and our state's attorney is a leader in that role. While many on this board recognize that on March 9th, 2011, the state of Illinois abolished the death penalty for criminals. And now we have the Reproductive Health Act, which was recently signed into law, that it is possible that a baby that after birth may be left to die in the state of Illinois. And that many of us have recognized the fact that animals and criminals are treated with one standard, and yet a newborn baby with another. So I'd like to just say that the Republican caucus stands against the inhumane act of allowing newborn babies to die. That we believe that everything should be done to protect the lives of these babies. We proclaim that July is Protect All Babies Born Alive Month. And we ask everyone next month during our recess board meeting, if you support that on July 18th, 2019, please wear blue to support the life of every baby born alive. Another personal story is I am the parent of 3 children. All 3 of my children were adopted. And we didn't really talk about a lot at home about abortion, but my children have these really very strong convictions against abortion, and that is because they realize how thankful they are to their birth mothers for choosing life for them. I, of course, am very grateful because without their birth mothers choosing life for my children, I would not have the 3 children that I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Ms. Berkowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. I feel that this issue stopped being a social issue when our elected officials placed the burden upon the taxpayer to pay for this, to pay for something that not everyone has the same belief or support for, to pay for a procedure that takes life. I'd like to share an experience I had. I went to the inauguration and I brought my son, my middle son, who is typically very quiet, but very intense. And when he speaks, you need to listen because he doesn't have a lot of words, but everything he says is very important. And we were walking the sidewalks in DC, and they were filled with young girls, teenagers, wearing these pink shirts that said, I'm pro-choice. After a day or so of this, they're standing right in the middle of the sidewalk. I couldn't take it anymore. And we stopped in front of this young girl, teenager, and I said, I'd like to introduce you to my son. And I had my arm around my son. And I said, I carried him for 9.5 months. If I had chosen to have an abortion, he would not be here. And she said, we have rights. And I said, do you understand that that child that is not born yet has a personality? They're a person. And my son, this is what will never, ever leave me. My son looked at me and he said, Mom, it's okay. Let's go. She doesn't get it. So I'm very proud to have 3 sons who feel the value of life. And although they're confused and they don't understand what's going on or how people can do these things today, I'm assured that I know they value life. And it comforts me. So in a time today where we're having this discussion, I no longer feel this is a social issue. That's changed. And we are paying for it. Our taxpayers are paying for it. And all I ask is that I don't want to tell anyone what to think or what to do or what their social values or moral values are, but just don't make me participate and don't make me pay for it. And I will give everyone the respect they deserve to lead their own lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Next up is Rachel.
Yes, hi. Thank you. I wanted to thank everyone who voted for the Greenest Region Compact. I think important step in our sustainability and growth as a county is passed. But on June 9th, we were able to attend the Paws on Route 66 Pet Rescue Day, and we were able to see lots of puppies be adopted that day, as well as some kittens. And so if you guys are interested in supporting causes like that, I encourage you to attend.
I've come down the line, and this past Saturday, out in Steger, the CAC had an open house for the CAC is a children's advocacy center. Our state's attorney, Jim Glasgow, had the brains and the determination to start this. We now have a functioning place for our children in East Remote County.
Executive. I just wanted to give a shout out to the Neuqua Valley High School girls softball team who were the DuPage Valley Conference champions.
Yeah. I got you.
I got a call this morning. I want to give a shout out as well to some kids up in my area of the county at Bednarsik Junior High School. There's a team there that has entered into the Texas Instruments TI Codes contest. Texas Instruments, remember Speak and Spell, you guys?
I just want to make a comment relating to Ms. Ogala's statement. Appreciate that statement. I know this issue is a heated one, and so often we're yelling past each other, but I'm concerned when we can bring up a proclamation that says, you know, that we're for babies that are born and that we're against the termination of a born child, because that's where we're at, that somehow somebody can find that proclamation offensive. And I guess we don't want to wade into political waters, but we, on this board, since I've been here, there's been a proactive approach to wade into political waters. And I guess if it's the majority's political opinion, that's what matters. We can wear a ribbon today in favor of a proclamation. When it's a proclamation that they don't agree with, it can't come. I don't know how many, I haven't been here long enough to know how many proclamations have been turned down, but I find it outrageous. So I'm just going to speak my piece here. There was a time when proponents of abortion basically said we want to keep it safe, we want to keep it rare, and we want to keep it legal. Last week in Springfield, and probably a month before in New York, I saw people cheering this law that enables the termination of babies up to 9 months. And we can't make a proclamation saying, you know what, we don't agree with that, regardless of Republican, regardless of Democrat, just as human beings. You know what, you might be pro-choice, I might be pro-life, but I mean, as people, can't we look at this and say, you know, something's wrong here. Let's get the politics out of it. Let's look at this thing a little closer. I just want to speak to folks a little bit what's in this bill, because I think you're outraged. You'll be outraged if you read it. Of course, we don't. We listen to the rhetoric of the politicians. So I'm going to read some things that it enables. It enables the legalization of sex selection abortions. It removes the requirement that a coroner investigate the death of a woman who dies during an abortion. It eliminates criminal penalties for doctors who perform illegal abortions. It allows non-doctors to perform abortions. It decreases the safety by dramatically deregulating abortion clinics. It also adds language that will likely nullify parental choice. Underage women, some as young as 13, will be able to get an abortion without parental notice. It legalizes partial birth abortion, and it legalizes third-term abortions. I don't know what to say. We're wearing these lapel pins at our babies' feet, okay? Many of us are. And I just find it unbelievable that somebody would be opposed to that. So I just want to give a shout out. I read an article yesterday about Cleveland Clinic. And Cleveland Clinic performed the first what's called an in utero fetal surgery on spinal bifida in a baby that's in its mother's womb. And I just want to say thank you to the Cleveland Clinic for caring enough about that child to go in there while it's still in the mother's womb and to address a disease that would hurt that child. I want to thank a mom that was concerned enough to have this procedure done, and I want to wish her good luck and congratulations on this successful surgery. And then, most importantly, I want to welcome to this world this baby that now is going to have hopes and dreams in the future, and hopefully it'll serve its fellow man successfully. So, again, I don't know where these proclamations are, and I don't want to get too political, but I'm discouraged and disappointed that this is something that we can't agree on. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Next up, Ms. Cook.
Hi, thanks. Something I want to say really fast, just because we won't have a county board meeting again before the 4th of July, and I won't see a lot of you. 4th of July is a really important holiday to my family. I don't know if you know, me and my husband are both combat veterans, and so I really want to wish everybody here and your families a happy 4th of July.
Good morning, Will County.
Good morning, Mike.
I also want to thank Don Rand for his service. We all know what you have to go through to get here, and we all know we spend a lot more time than anybody really realizes. So I do want to thank Don for his service. He's probably laying on a floaty right now in his pool. Not so happy about that.
That's not a
I'd like to be there
picture.
too. Yeah, right. Well, yeah. I also want to mention the recipients of checks today. It's amazing they came here to thank us for the checks, but we should be thanking them for all that they do, especially the ones that are working with kids. We had our Lockport golf outing yesterday, which gives us the ability to give out scholarships. We gave 14 scholarships out to kids this year to go to college. And I just think any organization that could help our future kids is great. And in regards to kids, we've heard a lot of conversation today, but I'm only going to say, every time I look at my 6 grandchildren, I wonder how anybody can vote to eliminate a newborn. I will always be pro-life. I will always vote pro-life. I just don't understand it. On a lighter note, the Cubs and
Mr. Executive, I just want to bring to people, some of you may know Ozzie Mitchell. He was a longtime director of Peter Claver Center and a major figure in the martial arts arena around this area. Passed early this morning, so just want to keep that family, Peggy, his wife, and the rest of them in your prayers, thinking about what they've done in the community. We also have our expungement fair on Saturday, so we're looking forward to a good day in spite of the rain, be able to reach out to people from the community and help them get their lives straight. We're thankful for that. And looking forward to a great 4th of July holiday, to just enjoy some downtime. Hopefully it will be sunny. We haven't had any yet. So, and that's all I have, Mr. Executive.